selection of derbies and grudge matches to look forward to. In England, Liverpool still hold their 100% record, but all could come crashing after a meeting with the new Sarri ball at the Stamford Bridge.
Ball breaks the money through to Salah. Salah into the penalty area. It's 1-0. Just 2 minutes played at Anfield, and Salah.
Firmino in the penalty box, twisting and turning, trying the left foot. Did he take a shot? Bobby Firmino makes a point. Perfectly arrowed by Bobby Firmino. What an absolute thriller!
Great run by Hazard. Fantastic goal. Fantastic strike. Possibly to win the game for Chelsea.
Chelsea have come from behind with 2 goals in 4.5 minutes. The second of them a proper sizzler from a player described by Sarri last week as quite possibly Europe's best.
Chelsea welcome Liverpool in what easily is the weekend's headliner in England. Champions Juventus clash with Napoli in the game that stands out as a sore thumb in the Italian Serie A. There's a Madrid derby between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid in Spain. Bayern Leverkusen play Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga, and Lille will play Marseille in the French Ligue 1. Preview to all key games across board to come. But we have the famous English Red Army back on our chopping board this afternoon, and ahead of a Navy trip to West Ham, who have found some form of late.
A lot of rumours today about a possible fallout between you and Paul Pogba. Is there any truth in that?
No. The only truth is that I made the decision of Paul not to be the second captain anymore. But no fallout, no problems at all. The same person that decides that Paul is not the second captain anymore was exactly the same person that decides that Paul was the second captain. Myself, I'm the manager, I can make these decisions. No fallout at all, no problems at all. Just one decision that I don't have to explain.
After failing to win in the last 2 games against less fancied sides, Jose Mourinho's methods have come under massive scrutiny, with calls for his exit increasing. Is there cause for alarm at Manchester United at this early stage of the season? You can react to a question of the day by sending us a message now on our Facebook page joy/99.7 or WhatsApp line on 0244 340 437 or tweet us at JoySportsGH. Also coming up,
it's lights out and away we go. Even start from the front two. Sebastian Vettel challenging Max Verstappen.
He said that this place was hotter than hell. Well, I think his lap last night in qualifying and his 61 laps tonight have been heaven sent for Lewis Hamilton, who extends his lead in the Drivers' Championship and wins the Singapore Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton is now 40 points clear of Sebastian Vettel.
Formula 1 is back, and all drivers head to Sochi for the Russian Grand Prix, with Lewis Hamilton leading the pack with 40 points. Sebastian Vettel is failing to give up, and that makes for an interesting race to come this weekend. Analysis ahead. We are in China for updates on the ongoing Shenzhen Open, and we have a preview to the CAF Champions League and Confederations Cup semi-finals to come early next week. You are up to date on Joy 99.7 FM. Time to talk about what the world is talking about in the world of sports. Hello from me, George Adder Jr., and welcome to Preview Friday.
When the referee's whistle sounds, when the beautiful flicks and tricks account for the goals and wins, when the tempers flare and the passion is in overdrive, where do you stand as a fan? It is time to turn your passion into some real cash. Monetize your shouts at 138.com, the newest and best sports betting and virtual gaming company in town. Sign up and enjoy 200% bonus on your first deposit on www.138.com/Africa. Experience live in play with unbeatable odds, endless markets and prompt payment. Mobile money enabled with quick deposit and easy withdrawal. Visit any of our retail shops in Accra, at Alaju, Caprice, Jamestown, Taifa, Suetum, and Teshi. In Kaswa at Newmarket and Ufako. 138.com is licensed by the Gaming Commission of Ghana, and it is not for persons below age 18. Bet responsibly. Call 050-9138-138 for any inquiries. Join the winning team now. 138.com. Win every day.
Live on radio, live online, this is The Locker Room with George Addo Jr.
And it's good to have joined us here on Joy 99.7 FM. Remember that you can get interactive on the show on our WhatsApp line 0244340437. Hello, Manchester United fans. We're into you this afternoon, and the question is, who should be sacrificed by Manchester United, Jose Mourinho or Paul Pogba? We have an interesting discussion upcoming here on the show. But of course, we have to say a big thank you to our sponsors making this work for us, bet138.com. So how would you feel when finally, after that long search, you find that place where all you do is win? Make a move to 138.com, the best sports betting and virtual gaming company in town. Register and bet with us to enjoy 200% bonus on your first deposit on www.138.com/Africa. Now, feel the taste of better odds, endless markets, and prompt payments, live in-play betting. You have to visit any of our retail shops in Alajo, Caprice, Kaswa, Jamestown, Taifa, Soltom, and Teshi. 138.com is licensed and regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Please not for persons below 18 years. Bet responsibly. Join the winning team now. 138.com. Win every day. It is a weekend. I'm sure everybody will love to win. Good games coming up, of course, wonderful derbies. But we have to start a bit now with golf. And you know that the Ryder Cup is on. You know what? Justin Rose and John Ram made birdies for the European or for Europe in the first day of 4 balls against the Americans. That's been absolutely impressive. I know you were trying to find out what exactly is happening, you know, with Tiger Woods and all. He's in this, and we'll see how it's gone through. But we have to quickly get to the BBC's James Gregg, who's got a preview to the action to come later today at the Ryder Cup.
The Ryder Cup, it gets underway in France on Friday as USA and Europe go head-to-head for golf's greatest prize. Following the opening ceremony, American and European captains Jim Furyk and Thomas Bjorn selected their pairings for Friday morning's 4 balls. Well, Thomas Bjorn believes that debutant Fleetwood and Molinari will work well with each other.
Tommy is a different guy, you know, in the way that he's won around here and he's been real quality for the last couple of years. You know, he's very calm and relaxed. I mean, they're not going to give it a lot away with emotion, those two at the end there, are they? But they're great together and they feel really comfortable and good.
Meanwhile, Paul Casey is playing his first Ryder Cup since 2008 and says he's just trying to make the most of the occasion.
I'm here because I believe I can win points and help the Europeans. We don't have the cup. We want it back. We've had an awful lot over the last 20 or so years. But it's also one of those, once you've tasted it, 10 years ago was my last one, you're so proud to stand, you know, watch your flag be raised, national anthems be played, represent your country, your continent. You've tasted that, and then when you've stepped away from it, that's something, I didn't want to miss another one, put it that way. So I'm taking all of this in this week. I'm enjoying all of it. I'm embracing all of it because I don't know how many more of these I'll play, especially in Europe. I'm 41 now, so this may be my last European-based Ryder Cup. I don't know. So, yeah, I'm here to win points, play my heart out, but also embrace every moment of it.
And it's important to note that the USA are defending champions, but have not won, in Europe for 25 years. So this should be a very good one as we look forward to everything that happens at the Ryder Cup. We're building up to the weekend, and there's a lot to look forward to, including Formula One, and we're hitting Russia now.
It's lights out, and away we go. Even start from the front two. Sebastian Vettel challenging Max Verstappen. They get very close this time. They don't touch. Verstappen just makes first corner ahead of Sebastian Vettel. They're looking up behind as they all thread their way through the first 3 corners. Back Verstappen ahead of Sebastian Vettel into the wall. Goes Esteban Ocon. Did he make contact with his teammate Sergio Perez? They were right close together again. The 2 Force Indians, and we have another first lap accident as Vettel and Verstappen down Raffles Boulevard go wheel to wheel. Wins the Singapore Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton is now 40 points clear of Sebastian Vettel.
You need a reminder, he's at 40 points, and that's an interesting lead, but not a big lead if you have been following Formula One and you know what really can happen with it. Of course, winning one race gives you 25 points, and so 40-point lead could really be slashed down if some races don't go well for you. We're in Sochi this weekend. It's the Russian Grand Prix. Joining me to do the analysis, Raymond Yamada. Raymond, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, George.
And it's good to have you here. You know what? We have to quickly talk about what we saw in practice already, and Sebastian Vettel leading the way in that, and Ferrari. And it's easy to say, Raymond, that Sebastian Vettel, of course, and Ferrari need to make this race work for them because 40-point lead is absolutely dangerous. If they lose this to Mercedes, they could probably be out of it.
Well, I think that it's a very important race for them. They have to do everything possible to start getting wins. They have to start winning races. And you look at what they are trying to do in practice. Vettel has taken the early lead. He's actually trying to get himself psyched up for Russia, because Russia is a very tricky place. They haven't really won that. They have never won there. Mercedes has dominated in Russia, so this is one race that they would be very keen on winning, because that's all to do here. It's make or break for Sebastian Vettel, because you look at how things are going. If he fails to win this race, we have just 5 races to go, and it will be very difficult for him to catch up. But that notwithstanding, I think that what we've seen in practice today is quite exciting. You see Ferrari trying to do the right things today. They are trying to cut out the mistakes that they made in the races that they lost, and so you see that they are trying to pick up. I saw Red Bull also show a lot of promise in the race, despite the fact that the penalty grid would make sure that they start at the back of the grid. That's going to affect them, but they showed some determination on the tracks today. Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, definitely it's more of the poorer the rehearsal, the better the show for them. So I see them coming back strongly when the race proper starts and when it gets to qualification. So I think that already Ferrari are showing the way. They have to show the way, because they have to psychologically get themselves back in the race. And it's good for it's good for Vettel that he's won the first practice.
Hamilton has been saying all week that I'm not thinking a lot about 40 points because of the complexities and really how complicated the Formula 1 is, and especially this season it's been very, very dramatic. We have not got the sort of results we expected at various grounds, so we might be talking about this for Ferrari and all, but psychologically they are playing the game, and they Mercedes.
Absolutely. I think that they find themselves in a very good position. Team Ferrari are not performing, and they seem to be getting everything right, despite the fact that Mercedes don't have the fastest car on the grid this year. They seem to be making up for that in different areas. Their pit stops are very spot on. The drivers are using their experience to perfection, and I think that it's worked so well for Team Mercedes. It's theirs to lose. At this point, they've taken a 40-point lead, and we all know Lewis Hamilton never really gives up on leads. I remember in 2010 he had a 14-point lead. He managed to see it out. In 2016 he had a 19-point lead. So this is a driver who knows that he has all to do. It's up to them to actually make sure that they don't lose this, because if they self-destruct, you can always expect a driver like Vettel to come back in, because we all saw him do that when he was at Red Bull. Twice he came back to chase a lead against Fernando Alonso, and he was able to get it. He was able to win the championship, despite the fact that he was 44 points behind. He was 39 points behind. He was able to win it. So they know that they are coming up against a very tricky driver and Sebastian Vettel, who has a lot of experience. So Mercedes still have a lot to do, but they are in the form of their lives. Mercedes at this point know that it's up to them to win this. They can only self-destruct and miss out.
Formula 1 this season definitely is slightly up-tempo, and it's because they have 4 titles each, and whoever wins the season's Formula 1 is making it 5, and we'll be heading to say, well, I'm the best in the world. Yeah, if you know what's been happening between Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, we've got a bit of that here right now. So let's talk about what we should expect per the history and what we've got anytime we get into Sochi.
Well, interestingly, Ferrari have never won in Sochi. The closest they came was last season, when Sebastian Vettel was 6 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas, who won that race. So it's looking like something that is quite unassailable for Ferrari this season. I still see Mercedes coming in strongly. You see back-to-back wins for Lewis Hamilton in the last 2 races. Definitely,
you're sending chills down the spine of anyone who's following Ferrari, because they need to get something out of this.
Absolutely,
15 points will not be enough. They need to get 25 here.
They need to win this race. But you see, it's quite difficult. You're looking at the fact that Red Bull may not be able to compete in this particular one. Red Bull may not be able to challenge in this particular one. And looking at it as a 2-horse race between Ferrari and Mercedes. What is Ferrari going to do today? Are they going to make any mistakes? If they are able to cut out the mistakes, and we've all seen how they've imploded this season because of those mistakes. I think that if they had cut out those mistakes, we would have seen Vettel leading by 30 points at this particular point in time in the season. But they've not been able to deal with that. I think that Lewis Hamilton is going to keep his head. Valtteri Bottas has spoken about the fact that he's going to be a team player. He's going to play for the team. So it looks like Mercedes are going to win this one more time. But you look at the determination on the faces of Vettel and the likes. I think they would give it a push, but it looks like a happy hunting ground for Mercedes. They might just win this one.
All right, Raymond, thank you very much. We know that a maximum of 150 points available. So there it goes. Just a quick one for you. We're just giving you an indication of what happened in practice, but there's a lot of room to come and a long way to go truly before we know who's going to be picking the pole position and all of that. That's it for Formula 1. We have to get into football right now, but we have to start with the Joy Sports BBC two-way series. The BBC's Nick Harting was standing by, and I had a lovely chat with him. Enjoy this. Thanks for your time this weekend, and there's no better place to begin than the just ended Best FIFA Awards. Many eyebrows were raised with the gaping inconsistencies. How complicated has the awards voting scheme become with the inclusion of fans?
It's caused so much confusion, hasn't it? The selection procedure, hasn't it? So many raised eyebrows, lots of people scratching their heads. Football seemingly not making sense that night. Difficult to know where to start really on those awards. The voting didn't really make sense either, did it, as far as the best 11 is concerned? Can anybody honestly really make any sense of it? Liverpool's Mo Salah scored 32 Premier League goals last season, was named FIFA's third best male footballer. He missed out to Luka Modric, who won the award. Cristiano Ronaldo came second, yet Mo Salah wasn't included in the 11. Then there's the goalkeeping situation. Manchester United's goalkeeper David De Gea was included. That's even though he missed out to Thibaut Courtois for the individual goalkeeping award. Right back went to Paris Saint-Germain's injured Dani Alves. He made the side again. He's been selected for 8 of the past 9 teams, only missing out in 2014. Surely there must be other right backs out there who can give Dani Alves competition. FIFA's explained how the voting process works for the player and the coach categories. National team captains, national team managers, selected journalists, and for the first time an online poll of fans have all been voting, each category accounting for 25% of that total. So that explains the voting process. What FIFA hasn't explained yet is why Salah and Courtois only made that second 11. So still really more questions than answers.
Club football next, and calls for Jose's sacking, at least from fans down here, are increasing by the day. In the face of the League Cup defeat, is there enough reason for Manchester United fans to panic this early in the season?
It's difficult to say whether the panic is justified. It's a classic player versus manager battle, isn't it? It needs to be resolved sooner rather than later, though, doesn't it? Because who knows how long it could rumble on for, both for the fate of the club and both for the fate of both men as well, because results haven't been great, have they, so far this campaign? Early season back-to-back defeats for United. It did appear to be getting better with those away wins against Burnley and against Watford, but then came that draw at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Paul Pogba, after that game, criticising, it appeared, the tactics of United after they took the lead on the stroke of half-time there. He said he would have liked United to continue their attacking. So that was a bit of a veiled stab, if you like, at Jose Mourinho's tactics. After that, just ahead of the Derby game in the League Cup, it was claimed that Mourinho had said to Pogba that he would never captain the side again. Antonio Valencia, of course, is the United captain. Paul Pogba stands in whenever Valencia is out of action. That news came out, then United got knocked out of the League Cup by Championship side Derby. Paul Pogba was in the stands for that game. He put out a video on Instagram, which I don't think Jose Mourinho was too happy with as well. That was apparently the reason for the pictures of that training ground bust-up as well. That came out the day afterwards as well. So things that really not good as far as those two players are concerned, and it seemingly is affecting the United results as well. So they really do need to sort out their differences. Mourinho's come out this week and said he has no problem with Paul Pogba, but that remains to be seen how that affects things on the pitch. If they drop points at West Ham this weekend, then you have to say that things perhaps really are concerning.
On the pitch matters, and United travel to West Ham this weekend after the last 2 outings. Can West Ham take advantage of the travelling team in London then?
Yeah, I think if this game had happened about 3 weeks or so ago, then you'd have all your money on Manchester United winning this game, wouldn't you? Because West Ham had an awful start to the season under Manuel Pellegrini. They'd spent plenty of money in the summer, hadn't they, as well? But it was a disastrous start given the money that they'd spent. But they got their first win of the season away at Everton. That was backed up with that good result against Chelsea, becoming the first side to take points off Maurizio Sarri's side so far this season. So there's certainly a tougher test for Manchester United than they would have been 2 or 3 weeks ago. Can West Ham take advantage of the disarray at Manchester United? You'd have to say this is probably the perfect time for them to play Manchester United, given what's happening between Paul Pogba and Jose Mourinho. That's a draw at home to Wolves, being knocked out of the League Cup by a side in the division below as well. There's plenty of unrest at Old Trafford, isn't there, at the moment? And if you're a West Ham fan, you'd probably be licking your lips in anticipation of this one.
Let's talk the weekend's headliner, which is without a doubt the Liverpool-Chelsea game at the Stamford Bridge. How big a statement will a win be for either side?
Yeah, this is a fantastic game to look forward to, isn't it? Easily the best and the biggest game to look forward to this weekend. Even bigger and more riding on it, I suppose, given what happened in midweek with Chelsea beating Liverpool at Anfield in the League Cup. Coming from behind to win by 2-1. Eden Hazard with that sensational goal to see Chelsea through to the next round and knock Liverpool out. Means really that there's probably even more riding on it, because if you're a Chelsea fan, you'd want your players to back that up. If you're Maurizio Sarri and the players as well, you'd want to show that was no fluke by getting back-to-back wins over your title rivals. Liverpool, they will want to maintain their 100% record and keep it 7 wins from 7 with a victory at Stamford Bridge. So yeah, really, really interesting matchup this weekend. Liverpool, if they can get that win, it really will seal their credentials as title contenders and open up quite a decent gap between themselves and Chelsea as well. So a big game if you're the Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp. This will be the biggest game of the season so far, and the one that you will really, really want to win.
Finally, which games from the pack would you recommend for EPL addicts this weekend, and why?
Well, Chelsea and Liverpool is the obvious one that we've just mentioned, so that is a really, really big game to really look forward to. If you look elsewhere, Arsenal have been going really, really well, haven't they, under Unai Emery? Bit of a sticky start for the new Arsenal manager, but he can make it 5 wins in a row, 6 wins in a row in all competitions. They are at home to a Watford side who have started really, really well under Javi Gracia as well, haven't they? 4th in the table, just the 1 defeat from 6 games so far. They're the surprise package so far this season, so that is a game I think will be really, really exciting as well. Manchester City 2nd in the table at the moment. They can go top if Liverpool drop points away at Chelsea this weekend and Manchester City win at home to Brighton. You would expect a big win for Pep Guardiola's side. Interesting thing that this is the first match back at the Etihad Stadium since Manchester City's Champions League defeat against Lyon. So more than a few reasons for Manchester City to want to put smiles back on the faces of the Manchester City fans. The other one this weekend, I think, is that West Ham against Manchester United game. West Ham picking up after wins against Everton and that draw at home to Chelsea, while Manchester United in seeming turmoil after that draw at home to Wolves and being knocked out of the League Cup at home to Derby this week. All surrounding, of course, the issues between Jose Mourinho and Paul Pogba.
Live on radio, live online, this is The Locker Room with George Addo Jr.
And it's good to have you send us your messages. Interesting messages already on our Facebook page. We're asking you the question between Jose Mourinho and Paul Pogba. Who would you like to be sacrificed? Yes, or who's the Manchester United sacrifice? I've got an interesting message here now. Nana Kwame Na Enin says, you can make a player bigger than the coach. Pogba must humble himself and move on. Anyway, I haven't finished my business with Arsenal. Make a good chop my house matter. You have to be there. We'll be checking Arsenal what they do against Watford truly. Kojo Nyantachi says, Pogba, after all, he's not a good player. He thinks he is. Even David Beckham was sold. Well, interesting where you guys are going with all of this. But you can send us your messages as well on our WhatsApp line 0244340437. And just a good time now to get into our discussion, because Pogba came into the season on a high after helping France win the World Cup in the summer in Russia. On the pitch, he has had a good start, scoring 4 goals, 2/3 of his tally for last season, and setting up another 2. But Mourinho told Paul Pogba this week that he would no longer be his vice-captain, although he has not revealed why. The midfielder said the club should attack after a 1-1 draw there with Wolves. But Mourinho insists that there's no fallout. Jose Mourinho is having his press conference at the moment and has indicated Paul Pogba will play for Manchester United against West Ham in this weekend's game. But are we actually saying we're expecting more from Pogba? Is this not enough? Is Jose Mourinho doing it in the right way to get the best out of Paul Pogba? 4 goals, 2 assists in 7 games. What's gone wrong?
Oh, Paul Pogba has driven it in from the edge of the box. That's what Jose Mourinho wanted. Moutinho with a shot. Wolverhampton Wanderers the level.
I think they deserve their point, and I think we deserve the punishment. Honestly, I was expecting more from my attacking players.
Pogba has been told, we understand that he will not be wearing the captain's armband for Manchester United again.
United, as Chelsea under Mourinho, are very much set up not to lose before going out and winning a game. Paul Pogba came out and said that's not good enough at home. I guess we'll have to wait and see how they approach this one at Old Trafford.
Phil Jones for Manchester United has to score. Right footed, saved by Carson! Derby are through!
There is interest from Barcelona in Pogba. They wanted him this summer, they didn't get him. They would quite like him in January. I think it's an interesting power play. I wouldn't like to say who was going to be there, but clearly Mourinho is the manager.
Okay, so this will get absolutely feisty. Now you know what? More of your messages are coming through on our Facebook page, Joy/99.7. Okay, Dan Obing says Pogba should go. Enakima says General Pogba must go. Sam Kwara says the two should go. Pogba is just an overrated player. So now joining me to do the analysis in studio, and these guys have been going through this for some time. Oreko Ampofo, Raymond Nyamado, and Safo Bafojima. Guys, how are you doing this afternoon?
Great, good, George.
Yeah, good. We get closer to our microphones, and I can just go straight away to you, Oreko Ampofo, because you must convince us, and I mean convince me, the listeners, everybody around this, to understand why Jose Mourinho is right to be angry at a player who has 4 goals, 2 assists in 7 games already.
Yeah, George, I think Jose Mourinho is rightly angry, and there have been some concerns at Manchester United at the ongoing dispute, and of course there's a fear that it could poison Mourinho's relationship with other first-team players and end up bringing a conflict with a group of players that's close to Pogba. Now we see Anthony Martial, and he's the most obvious ally amongst the coterie of unhappy French-speaking players, and that includes Eric Bailly. We've also had something from the club insiders that's described an uncomfortably tense atmosphere between Mourinho, Pogba and Martial at the Lorry Hotel right before they played Burnley earlier this month. And indeed, the current feeling of animosity is such that the staff would prefer that Pogba is not on board when United take a train to London on Friday afternoon. And this is the reason. So against in their game against Derby, there was a video, George.
Yes.
And in that video, we saw that Pereira was laughing and joking with Pogba in the private box at Old Trafford while his teammates were struggling against the Derby side in the Carabao Cup. And that saw United eventually go out on penalties. And that aside, just a week ago, Pogba irritated Mourinho once again by playing loud music on the top of the deck of the team bus en route to Old Trafford before their draw with Wolves. Summer signing Fred was the other player also cranking up the volume, and there were concerns that he too may be under influence of Pogba. While footballers playing the loud music is nothing new, people who have grown tired of Pogba thought that it showed a lack of focus. It was typical of Pogba to turn up for the Derby game in a bright white tracksuit and the gold-rimmed sunglasses as he came into the dressing room area before and after the game. Although the policy established by Sir Alex Ferguson required the non-playing members of the squad turn up in official club wear has been relaxed, players are still expected to dress conservatively, and this is another area in which the staff feel that Pogba is setting a bad example. Some senior players have now distanced themselves from the 25-year-old player, mindful that Mourinho is keeping a very close eye on him. An example is Ashley Young, Nemanja Matic. We have former midfielder, he's part of the coaching staff right now, Michael Carrick. He's also among of the players who are keeping their distance from Pogba. And intriguingly, Romelu Lukaku, remember how close they were. There have also been reports that their relationship has cooled down because of what's happening between Pogba and Mourinho. And Lukaku does not want to be seen backing Pogba against Mourinho. And the two players remain on good terms, but then the club insiders have noticed that they're not as close as before. Now, the other players who have been caught in the middle of Mourinho's rift with Pogba are growing tired of the behavior of both men, since it's causing a very toxic atmosphere in the Manchester United camp. And I think that may explain Mourinho's determination to assert his authority and bring Pogba down a peg or two this week. And I think after having accepted that their relationship now is beyond repair, Mourinho needs to re-establish control over the rest of the dressing room before it gets too late.
So you are just indicating here that the guy is causing a lot of trouble that we cannot even see or have an idea of. That's where it's going. So Paul Pogba is clearly an indisciplined player from where you're going. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Raymond Yamada, let me come to you there. I mean, a coach has an indisciplined player from Oriku's point of view, and he has stated quite a number of things that indicate that the player is not just being in there. And on the pitch, well, good numbers start the season, but like they say, he's no Ronaldo, he's no Beckham, he's no Scholes, and so he hasn't got to the level where he should do what he's doing. He should be calm.
Well, George, that's an interesting one. You look at Paul Pogba, without doubt, he's one of the finest midfielders in the world, and without doubt, he's one of the biggest players at Manchester United. Paul Pogba is the heartbeat of this Manchester United team. And he makes things thick for this United team anytime he gets onto the pitch. I remember last season when Paul Pogba started the season in blistering form and then got injured. Manchester United sank right from that point on to the end of the season. This is the kind of influence this boy has on the team. And we've all seen Paul Pogba play at Juventus, where he had the likes of Andrea Pirlo, Marquisio, Khedira, Simone Pepe. Those were the players he had around him. He had the freedom to play his kind of football. He had the freedom to play on that left-hand side of midfield and, influence games. He was an influencer of games, crucially for Juventus, when they were winning titles under Antonio Conte and under, Allegri. This is the kind of player that he has. Even for the French national team, we've seen how he's been able to box games, how he's been able to be influential in games. And for Manchester United, he's shown glimpses of that. Now, you look at this current Manchester United team. How do they play their football? If Paul Pogba is asking that a home team should not be defending, but a home team should be attacking, Paul Pogba is absolutely right, because all these players are going frustrated by the manager's methods. Manchester United score a goal and they have to sit back and defend. They don't have to attack because they have to try as much as possible to protect the lead. They have to try as much as possible to win games. So you go into games making sure that you don't lose games. Fine, it's good for a manager not to want to lose, but Manchester United are used to playing a certain brand of football. At least we all know that Manchester United have to play to win. They have to play some beautiful football to win. Is that what we are seeing currently at Manchester United? No.
Paul Pogba is not the coach. He's not the coach.
No, but George,
how the team should go.
George, you look at this Manchester United team, and you can't point out, apart from David De Gea, you cannot point out a player playing on the pitch who has been exceptional for Manchester United this season. None of the players have been able to express themselves freely on the pitch. None of the players have actually shown that, look, I am the go-to man in this particular team. Paul Pogba is struggling, Sanchez is struggling, simply because of the manager's methods. And if all the players cannot speak, Paul Pogba has to start speaking, and that's exactly what he's done. So I think that the player is being victimized because he's been open, he's been bold enough to criticize the coach, and it's reached a point where every single player in that team is tired. The players want to win, but the way they play, they cannot win.
Okay, Jim, let me bring you in. But there are times when we've seen Paul Pogba hold on the ball unnecessarily, take the ball taken away from him. I think a quick shot of that was in that Wolves game. I mean, the leading, whatever led to that equalizer by Wolves, by Joao Moutinho's goal, was because Pogba was over-elaborating on the ball in midfield, and that happened. Would you say that what Pogba is expressing is truly an aggregate of everything that the players are feeling?
I don't think so, George. I think most importantly, Pogba is expressing his opinion about the matter, and some Manchester United players, and not all. For me, if you look at some of the players who have often been beneficiaries of Jose Mourinho's pragmatic approach, if you ask Marouane Fellaini now that is he happy with the United play, I think it's going to be no, because he is a player who has often been accustomed with Mourinho's style of play, say when he needs a more defensive cover. So I don't think Fellaini is going to support Pogba. The same for Luis Antonio Valencia, a player who in many eyes was done and dusted, but he was afforded the captaincy by Manchester United, and even in the wake of Dalot's arrival at Old Trafford, he still starts ahead of the likes of Mathieu Damien. So that means Valencia is going to say no to what Pogba is saying. Similarly, for a player like Ashley Young, who was afforded a new lease of life under Mourinho, even to the extent that he went to the World Cup as England's left fullback thanks to Mourinho. And as Oreko emphasized, the likes of Ashley Young, Lukaku himself, who is a close friend of Pogba, are now distancing himself from the player. So for me, I would say that Pogba is expressing his opinion and the opinion of some unhappy players, say in the shape of Martial and Bailly, whose animosity between themselves and Mourinho has been chronicled in recent times. So for me, I would say Pogba is entitled to his opinion, but to say that he is expressing the opinion of Manchester United players, all the players, will not be justified.
Not Let me come to you, Rico, on this one. Now, is Pogba being fair? Unless Pogba is calling for the likes of Pirlo back into the Manchester United team, or he's calling for N'Golo Kante, or he's calling for his French team. He wants to play exactly like he was playing, Juventus. Is that what it feels like he's calling for right now? Because a player is failing to understand the manager in the way the club should go in terms of football tactics on the pitch. And he doesn't believe what the manager is, and he wants to play the way he knows how to play.
Well, this is why I think Paul Pogba is wrong, because I'm sick and tired of all these comments on, release the player, the manager's not getting the best out of him, blah blah blah. I think that's completely wrong. And if you're a world-class player, you don't need to complain so much. You go out on the pitch and fight. You put in your best at the end of the day, but you can't put in a lackluster performance and expect what your team to buy you a Kante. You don't have that. You make do with what you have. You are Manchester United, where they just signed Fred for 50 million. They invested 30 million in Matic. What again do you want? Mourinho usually plays a 4-2-3-1 in his past how many years he's been a manager? Because of you, Mourinho switches to a 4-3-3 because he has to play on the left side of midfield. Pogba is still complaining. What does he want? You are bought for 89 million pounds. You need to make a difference. You need to impose yourself. And this is what I think is all wrong. It's all wrong because he didn't come to Manchester United for the right purpose. I think it was just for a commercial kind of thing, just to make more money. And he's not playing at his best. You can look. You look at Didier Deschamps en route to the World Cup final. He played a similar type of football to Mourinho. Very pragmatic. You saw Pogba working hard in the World Cup, tackling. It's not different from Manchester United.
I get it from the Jose Mourinho angle, but Raymond on that point. I mean, on that point, Paul Pogba wants to be pampered. Hasn't Mourinho done enough? And isn't this being ungrateful? He makes you the vice captain. He gives you the opportunities. He keeps on saying you're a great player, and yet he's not getting the best out of Paul Pogba. Isn't Jose Mourinho's problem quite simply the boy is not stepping up to the plate?
George, it's not a matter of the boy not stepping up to the plate. Anytime Paul Pogba has been in the mood, anytime Paul Pogba has been on the pitch, Paul Pogba has worked for this United team. Not a single player apart from Paul Pogba has been exceptional in this Manchester United team. If you look at the players who play on the pitch, take David De Gea out, not a single Man United player has been explosive this season, simply because they've been curtailed. Every single player in this United team is preoccupied with defending rather than attacking. And so when Henrik Mkhitaryan left Manchester United, he said he was going to a team where he could freely play his football, a team where he could attack, and that was the caliber of player he was at Manchester United. But because he had to be preoccupied with defensive duties, I think that we've seen Paul Pogba at his best at the World Cup, playing for Juventus, even playing for Manchester United, the junior teams. We saw Paul Pogba at his best. Why is Paul Pogba struggling to deliver for Manchester United? It's because of the coach.
Now, and so I would put the mindset.
No, it's not to that team. George, it's not about the mindset. You look at this Manchester United team. You have a player like Matic playing behind Paul Pogba. Matic won the league with Chelsea, and he was a key cog in that Chelsea team when they won that league. You look at a player like Herrera, look at a player like Fred. These are top-notch players. These are quality players by our standards. But not a single one of them is playing at the level that we expect them to play. You don't put the blame on Paul Pogba. I think Paul Pogba is struggling in this team simply because the tactics are not working.
Let me come to you, Jim, on that one. Do you think it's too early to panic as a Manchester United fan at this stage of the season?
I think that there are cause for concern, and for me, at this point in time, the panic has to be relative. In terms of the domestic competitions, then there is the need for serious panic, because as it is now, teams around United have improved tremendously. Talk of Liverpool, who are leading the pack by 18 points, 8 points separating themselves and United. Chelsea, up until that draw against West Ham, were on cloud 9. The same for Man City, who seems to be going on the high. So in terms of the competition they are up against, there is cause for concern, and any die-in-wool United fan needs to panic. But in terms of their European outing, they had an impressive outing against young boys. You would say not a too good team. But for me, on paper, as it is now, they've got 3 points in the Champions League, but they've got out of the Carabao Cup, and they are adrift the leaders in the Premier League by 18 points. So the panic has to be relative. Domestic competition, need for panic. By
Champions League, not quite.
No need for panic.
Let me come to you, Raymond, on that. So now, who will outlast the other? Do you want to see Jose Mourinho out or Paul Pogba out? And I'll activate my phone lines pretty shortly on that.
Well, George, I expect Jose Mourinho to be out because, the kind of season he's having has a semblance of that season that he had with Chelsea, his last season at Chelsea, where he was sacked in December. I think that you look at that Chelsea team and, getting to the point where he was sacked. Chelsea were 16th on the league table. Chelsea were kicked out, in the 6th round of the FA Cup. Chelsea were kicked out in the 4th round of the Carabao Cup, and Chelsea were kicked out of the last season of the Champions League. We have the same thing happening here because you look at Manchester United last season. It took them 15 games to concede 9 goals in the Premier League. They have conceded 9 goals already in the Premier League. Where is this Manchester United team going? Jose Mourinho seems to have lost his dressing room. Jose Mourinho has lost the confidence of the players.
Sure about that?
And I think that this is the right time. I think beyond this point, Manchester United is out of Jose Mourinho's hands.
Let me activate our phone lines now. 0302-216-541. 0302-216-541. We need to hear from you now on our phone lines. The question is as simple as that. Who should be sacrificed? Jose Mourinho or Paul Pogba? Let me come to you. Who are you going to be definitely sacrificing?
I think in terms of confrontation, I would be with Mourinho, because I think Pogba has been the mole in the team and he seems to be dragging some players along. I think at the end of the day, the coach is the coach, and once you sack Mourinho, what you're trying to say is that Pogba is bigger than the club, and that wouldn't send a very good message across. So I think I would go with Mourinho. He should probably stay. And for Pogba, I think he has never showed that determination, that fight for the club, and maybe it's just time to go on. It was never meant to happen at Manchester United. Anyway.
Barcelona sacrificed Enrique.
Have you had a take on that? Who should be sacrificed?
I think it will all come down to results. If by January United are up there challenging for the Premier League title and Pogba is still disruptive, then he's likely to leave. But if the results go down and Mourinho seems not to get the right results, then as it often happens, the club will have to sack the coach. Then the player might be the victor, as in the case of Diego Costa and Hazard under Chelsea.
Let me take some 3 calls. I've got Clement calling us right now from Roman Ridge. Clement, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, how you doing?
Oh, I'm fine. Are you?
I'm fine. Who should be sacrificed, Paul Pogba or Jose Mourinho?
Mourinho have to go.
Why?
Because look at it. If Papa is even playing like Kante or any midfielder at all, and the coach is not doing well, there's no way that you say that all the team Papa have to work for all the team. Look at the other players who is performing apart from the year, and you are blaming all Papa. The coach have to go. If you have that kind of player, you have to play a system that will fit the player.
Okay.
Not that you put the blame on the player. The players are they performing well?
All right, you made your point. Thank you very much. We've got another call on the line. Sadiq from Adenta. Sadiq, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Who would you sacrifice, Jose Mourinho or Paul Pogba?
Pogba out.
Why?
He's not bigger than the club. Look, we have bigger stars than Pogba. Talk of it. Huge stars. 0 left. What happened to United? We won the Champions League. Even Rooney left. United was so stuck.
So you want Pogba out anyway?
Out.
Okay, thank you very much, Sadiq. I think I've got another call on the line. Yaro is calling us from Nkoko. Yaro, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jadudina.
Yes, hi. How are you doing?
From inside Gucci Collection.
Okay. So, tell me.
First and foremost, Jose needs to leave because Mourinho doesn't have the hot mentality as hot management. You can nowadays call Mourinho as a coach, as Ghana used to call. In Europe, they call them managers because you're going to manage the player attitude, both the field or outside the pitch. But always, when Mourinho won the match, Mourinho is the best one. When the team lose, the players are not good. Let me ask you a question over there. Is it not Mourinho who brought all those players she is complaining now? You are telling the whole world what?
Okay.
You are telling the whole world that if let's say you know that Fujo is going to play the penalty, he's going to what makes the penalty. And so how dare him allow him to play? So allow the goalkeeper to play. Mourinho is supposed to leave.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Yaro from Nkoko. That's about it. I'm just trying to check up your messages. Okay, we've got message somewhere on WhatsApp and then on Facebook, but that's fine, guys. Let's quickly go around what we've got this weekend in terms of good games. There's a Chelsea-Liverpool game to look forward to. Jim, on that one,
a very interesting encounter at the Bridge, and it's become more on the spotlight in the wake of Chelsea's win at Anfield in the Carabao Cup. For me, as a Chelsea fan, I think it's going to be difficult with Liverpool bringing on board their star men in the shape of Salah, Mane and Firmino. I wouldn't be surprised if the game ends in a draw.
There's one game to look forward to. There's Manchester United versus West Ham. Yes, I know. I won't take you straight to Juventus versus Napoli. That's a big game out there in the Italian Serie A.
Well, it's going to be an interesting one. You see Carlo Ancelotti returning to Napoli. He has a lot of quality players in there. Dres Mertens and the likes are in there. Last season, they had Juventus at the same venue, and so they would want to do another double over them. But I still see this Juventus team as a very tough one. Cristiano Ronaldo in their fold is getting into the game now. He's beginning to understand this Juventus team. I see them having too much quality for Napoli to be able to deal with. I still see Juventus being able to win this one.
It's Roma versus Lazio. That's another interesting game, but we'll have to go to the Spanish League, is it? We've got Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid. That's a good derby to look forward to, Oriku.
Definitely for Diego Simeone. I think he will be looking forward to this game. And for Real Madrid, the derby couldn't have come at any time worse than this. Marcelo is out due to injury, and they've just looked out of sorts, especially at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan where they lost 3-0. So it looked like Atletico Madrid were out of this league, but then all of a sudden Barcelona and Real Madrid lose, and Atletico Madrid look like they're back in this. And I think Atletico Madrid will be looking to definitely bury Real Madrid, and it wouldn't be easy, as the fixture list, the fixture has always suggested. I think it'll be a close one, but considering the form and the lack of players for Real Madrid, Isco is also out, so I think at the end of the day, Atletico Madrid may just edge it out.
Beautiful games to look forward to. Thank you very much, Raymond Yamada. Thank you very much, Oriku Wampofo, and of course to you, Safo Bafujima. You know what? We'll be interested in that Manchester United West Ham game, all because of what's happening in the club. They become so special to all editors and football journalists around the world. And next week, we come your way with the UEFA Champions League commentary. And guess what? Our first game on Tuesday is Manchester United versus Valencia, and then on Wednesday, Conladrom's team will take on Spurs. These are the games for us. You're already looking forward to the fixtures, right? Great games.
Yeah, but that's a walk in the park.
I don't know about that. How did you lose to Leganese?
That's just one of those.
You are sure?
Bad
How did you draw with Girona?
One of those bad days in the office. I mean,
Spurs have every reason to be hopeful.
Spurs themselves have been going through some sort of a patch.
But not as bad as Barcelona.
Really?
Just to be fair, we a good time to get straight into the news, shall we?
Well,
what have we got? Because you have agreed that your team is not doing well. That's fine. So what have we got?
I didn't say that. Well, coming up in the headline news are two. Accra High Court grants interim measure restraining the National Communications Authority from shutting down JoyFM and Asempa FM over failure to limit transmission radius. Also, former GFA President Kwesi Nyantechi drags investigative journalist Anas Arime Anas to court, citing human rights violations over the number 12 documentary, and hundreds of investors mass up at offices of gold dealership Men's Gold following notice they will begin payments of dividends today. Details now. Accra High Court has granted an interlocutory injunction application filed by the multimedia